One morning at Emily Elizabeth's house, Clifford and Daffodil were still sleeping. Clifford was curled up next to Daffodil, leaning up against her. Clifford suddenly woke up in shock when he heard a growling noise. He was relieved to be safe at home because he was dreaming that he had an encounter with a monster. Suddenly, he heard the growl again. He panicked, thinking the monster was real, and he jumped on top of Daffodil. This woke her up. Huh? Clifford, what's going on? Daffodil asked the scared puppy. Daffodil, there's a monster in this room, Clifford stammered. Clifford, there are no such things as monsters, Daffodil explained. Now will you please get off of me? But I swear, I heard it, said Clifford. It was growling ferociously, and it was very close. Then he heard the growl again. There it is again, he screamed, grasping tightly onto Daffodil. Daffodil soon figured out that her stomach was growling, and that's probably what Clifford heard. She gently moved Clifford off of her and said, Clifford, there is no monster in here. That growling you heard was coming from my stomach. Huh? Clifford asked, confused, and then looked at Daffodil's stomach, only to hear it growl again, confirming that's what made the noise. He giggled. Your tummy does sound like a monster, Daffodil. I guess I'm pretty hungry, said Daffodil. I could sure go for some carrots right now. It wasn't long until Emily Elizabeth fed them. Later that day, Clifford overheard Emily Elizabeth talking with her parents about them going on a cruise together. This got him excited. You hear that, Daffodil? Clifford asked. We're going on a cruise. Doesn't that sound like fun? I don't know, Clifford, said Daffodil. Don't you think they would take us? And of course they would, said Clifford. We are part of the family. I gotta tell Jorge about this and see if he wants to come too. As Clifford went off to tell Jorge, Daffodil was still unsure about this. Jorge still got excited regardless. However, sometime later, Clifford and Daffodil overheard Emily Elizabeth now feeling sad. Her parents told her that she cannot bring Clifford and Daffodil because they don't allow pets on the ship. This got Clifford all disappointed. Sorry, Clifford, said Daffodil. I'm afraid you'll just have to accept the fact that we can't go on this cruise. Clifford continued to pout. He silently watched Emily Elizabeth start to pack her things. That night, where Clifford was asleep, he got an idea. He continued to sleep, but made a promise to put his plan into action first thing in the morning. When morning began, Clifford raced down and brought Jorge into the room. When Emily Elizabeth wasn't in the room, he gathered Jorge and Daffodil by her back. Okay, listen up, you two. We are going on the cruise. What? Daffodil gasped. Didn't you learn anything from yesterday, Clifford? They're not bringing us. No animals allowed. That's what you think, Daffodil. That's why we are sneaking into Emily Elizabeth's bath, so they won't know they're taking us. I love this idea, said Jorge. Clifford and Jorge jumped into the bag. Come on, Daffodil, Clifford called. Oh no, said Daffodil. I'm not getting involved in this scheme. Please, Daffodil, begged Clifford. We really need you to come along. My plan won't work right unless all three of us go. What is your plan exactly? Daffodil asked, puzzled. I'll explain when we get there, said Clifford. Daffodil sighed. All right. She reluctantly got inside the bag and Clifford zipped it shut. Emily and Elizabeth came in and noticed Clifford and Daffodil were not in the room. She assumed they were both hiding in the room sleeping, so she picked up the bag. My, this bag is heavier than I anticipated, she thought. After some time, the family got on the ship and checked into their room. Emily and Elizabeth wanted to explore the ship before they started unpacking. After she and her parents left the room, Clifford unzipped the bag, and he, Daffodil, and Jorge got out. We made it! Cheered Clifford. All right, cheered Jorge. Finally, a chance to breathe, Daffodil sighed. Clifford and Jorge looked around the room for a bit and played for a little bit. So now are you ready to tell me your plan, Clifford? Asked Daffodil. I sure am, said Clifford as Daffodil and Jorge listened. Now that the three of us are on the ship together, we can explore it and have some fun. And with both of you helping me, I know we can have a good time. Clifford, must I remind you of the no animals allowed rule? Daffodil interjected. How do you expect us to get around the ship without getting caught? Clifford grabbed some of Emily Elizabeth's clothes, and he, Daffodil, and Jorge stacked up putting on the clothes. Clifford was on top, Jorge was in the middle, and Daffodil was on the bottom. Daffodil sighed. I had to ask. Okay, guys, said Clifford. We all ready for some fun? I sure am, Jorge responded. And this trick you came up with will even triple the fun. Not from my perspective, said Daffodil. Just remember to keep our identities a secret, said Clifford as they all buttoned up to the skies. Okay, Daffodil, let's get moving. Daffodil sighed. My luck being the biggest. She started walking out of the room and down the hall. Daffodil continued to walk in ways as Clifford and Jorge kept balance. Then she stopped and poked her head out. Clifford, she whispered, which way do you want me to go? Clifford looked around until he spotted an open door, and what was inside the room looked somewhat fun to Clifford. The room to your left, he said. Daffodil turned left. She walked into the room and hid back into the disguise so as not to be caught by anyone. The trio did several fun things together. They played bingo, and they were at a buffet. Though Clifford, being on top, had no control over what he could do, since Jorge was his arms and Daffodil was his legs. He had to give them both orders so they could move the way he wanted them to move. Soon the Howards walked by. Emily and Elizabeth noticed the disguised pets. Hey, who's that? She wondered. Also, is that person wearing some of my clothes? Clifford didn't see the Howards nearby, but he was just then approached by a woman. Excuse me, young man, but are you lost? She asked. Clifford tried to talk to the lady, but what he said only came out to his barks. At this point, Daffodil knew they were busted. The woman was weirded out hearing barks from this young man, as if having a red dog-like head wasn't weird enough. Are you feeling all right, young man? She asked as she moved a little closer to them. This freaked Clifford out, causing him to slowly lean backwards. His leaning caused Jorge and Daffodil to lose balance, and they wobbled and fell over. Their true identities were revealed. Clifford? Daffodil? Emily and Elizabeth gasped as she and her pets approached them. You guys snuck on? You know you're not supposed to be here. These are your pets? Asked the woman. Yes, ma'am, Emily and Elizabeth answered reluctantly. Emily and Elizabeth wasn't sure what to do. She thought maybe she and her parents could hide the pets until the cruise was over, but it was too late. A cruise member had already witnessed this. The pets were worried what would happen to them now that the jig was up, but all that happened was that the Howards were forced to pay a fine before the cruise was over. This fine applied to all three pets, even though Jorge was not their pet. When the Howards returned home, they decided to never speak of this again. Clifford, however, was not out of the woods yet. Daffodil was not through with him. I knew your plan wasn't going to work, Clifford, Daffodil scolded. I'm sorry, Daffodil, said Clifford. I should have listened to you. Though being a human was pretty fun, wasn't it? Maybe for you, said Daffodil, but I had to do all the walking while carrying both of you in that hot outfit. Well, you kind of had to be on the bottom, said Clifford. You're larger than me and Jorge. Daffodil sighed. Sometimes it doesn't pay to be the biggest one. You know I love you, Daffodil, said Clifford. You'll always be like the big sister to me. Daffodil felt a glow in her heart when she heard those words. I love you too, Clifford, she said as she wrapped her ear around him, and I guess that's all that matters. Clifford gave Daffodil a lick on the cheek. Daffodil smiled and nuzzled Clifford. The end.